What has happened in this country is an abject lack of courage. Every president since 1999 till today has demonstrated an embarrassing lack of courage to deal with an issue that has festered. We are appeasing terrorists. We are placating them.
We know who these bandits are. We know where they are. We know what they want. What is left for us to conclude? If we are going to do negotiation, do it and finish it. If we are going to fight, we'll fight it to the finish.
Hey, my people. So Nigeria has declared a nationwide security emergency. Now, not in one state, not in one region, but across the entire country. And when a nation as big, as powerful, and as influential as Nigeria hits that kind of alarm button, you already know the situation has gone far beyond normal insecurity. Because over the past few weeks, we've watched a wave of kidnappings, killings, and mass abductions spread like wildfire, including the shocking kidnapping of hundreds of school children in Niger State. Entire communities are living on the edge. Rural areas have become war zones. And the government, well, it has reached its boiling point. Now, the situation has gotten so bad that it has now triggered international attention, with President Trump publicly threatening to send U.S. military troops to Nigeria if their government doesn't get control of the crisis. Now, for a nation like Nigeria, which is supposed to be Africa's giant, that kind of warning from a foreign power is unprecedented. So today we're breaking it all down. What pushed Nigeria to this moment? What does this emergency actually mean on the ground? And most importantly, will it work? Or is it already too late? And while President Tinubu, for the first time, is openly calling on all Nigerians to join this fight, why has he failed to call for regional support from the African Union, ECOWAS, and Nigeria's closest neighbors? Let's break it down.
Standing in the dormitory room where his son was sleeping on Friday night when he was abducted, this father didn't want to be identified, but described what he saw.
They were being trafficked on foot the way shepherds control their herds. The gunmen were on bikes while controlling the girls.
The students aged 6 to 18 and their teachers were taken by an armed gang that stormed the Catholic St. Mary's boarding school.
I'm sad. My whole life is filled with sadness. He's my only son. He's my firstborn. Please help us.
The anger and frustration with the authorities over their inability to prevent kidnappings like this is clear.
So everybody is keeping quiet. There is nothing the community is doing in regards to this issue.
So let's start with the spark that lit this fire. In the past few weeks, Nigeria has been hit by one of the most aggressive waves of mass kidnappings in recent years. And the most shocking, the abduction of hundreds of school children and teachers from a Catholic school in Niger State. Now, in some communities, parents are now escorting their kids to school just out of fear. And in others, schools have shut down completely because the risk is simply too high. But here's the part outsiders often miss. These kidnappings are not isolated incidents. They are part of a much bigger storm. Across the country, multiple crises have collided at the same time. In the Northwest, you have armed bandit groups launching coordinated raids on villages. In the Northeast, Boko Haram and ISWAP cells re-emerging with new tactics. In the North Central states, kidnapping syndicates are targeting highways and rural towns. In the South, high-profile kidnappings spreading toward urban centers. And in the Middle Belt, you have deadly farmer-herder clashes that are displacing entire communities. In the Niger Delta, oil gangs and pipeline vandals are creating parallel economies. So Nigeria isn't fighting one security crisis. It's fighting 5 at the same time. And that's the real emergency. And that's why the government had no choice but to declare a nationwide response. Because the violence is no longer confined to hotspots. It's spreading. It's evolving. It's becoming more coordinated. And it's hitting civilians, children, in ways that shake the nation to its core. When a country reaches a point where schools, churches, farms, and highways all feel like danger zones, something foundational has broken. And that's what triggered the emergency.
As part of response to escalating security threats, the police and army are authorized to enlist more personnel, with the police to recruit 20,000 officers, raising their intake to 50,000. The president, in a statement, also approved using NYSC camps as temporary training depot and directed that officers withdrawn from VIP duties undergo crash retraining before deployment to security-challenged areas. He also directed the DSS to immediately deploy trained forest guards and recruit more men to flush out terrorists and bandits, saying there will be no more hiding places for agents of evil.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, I want to invite you to join our family here at PanaGenius TV and be a part of conversations that are shaping the future. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for alerts. And if you want to support our work and help us reach more people, you can drop a super thanks on this video or join our growing membership community. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get back to the show. So my people, let's break down what this emergency actually means, right? Because headlines don't tell the full story. When President Tinubu declared a nationwide security emergency, he didn't just make a speech. He rolled out one of the most aggressive security overhauls Nigeria has seen in recent years. And here are the major pieces and what they're meant to fix. Number one, mass recruitment, 50,000 new police officers. The government announced an expansion of police recruitment to 50,000 officers, fast-tracked for immediate deployment. Why? Because Nigeria's police-to-population ratio is one of the lowest in the world. Some local governments have fewer than 100 active officers. You cannot fight a multi-front crisis with a skeleton force. And number two, redeployment, pulling officers off VIP duty. For the first time, the government is removing thousands of officers from VIP escort assignments and sending them to conflict zones. And let's be honest, Nigeria has more police protecting politicians than protecting citizens. So this move is a direct response to public outrage. Number three, NYSC camps turned into training grounds. So the police will now use the Nigeria Youth Service Corps, NYSC camps, as temporary training centers to speed up the onboarding of new recruits. It's a sign of urgency. The government wants manpower, and now, not a year from now. Number four, forest operations. Tinubu has authorized the DSS to deploy and expand forest guards. Now, why forest? Because bandits aren't operating from city centers. They're running mini governments inside forests with camps, hostages, informants, and supply chains. If you don't control the forest, you don't control the crisis. And number five, state police, the big controversial move. The president is pushing the National Assembly to amend the law and allow state-level police forces. Now, this could completely reshape Nigeria's security architecture, decentralizing power and giving states the ability to secure themselves. It's also controversial. Some say, well, it's the only solution. But others fear that governors will weaponize state police for political battles. But either way, this is a major shift. And number six, protecting schools, churches, and mosques. The emergency explicitly calls for increased protection of vulnerable institutions, especially schools, religious centers, and remote communities. This is the government admitting we cannot allow another mass school kidnapping. So, the big picture? Well, taken together, these moves show a government that's moving from denial, desperation, to action. This isn't a cosmetic announcement. It's the government hitting the panic button and rewriting the security playbook in real time. And for the first time, Tinubu is openly calling on all Nigerians to join this fight. In a statement, he said, "My fellow Nigerians, this is a national emergency, and we are responding by deploying more boots on the ground, especially in security-challenged areas. The times require all hands on deck. As Nigerians, we should all be involved in securing our nation." So this isn't just a government plan. It's a national plea. But here's the big question. Will these measures treat the cause of Nigeria's insecurity or just the symptoms?
As I'm speaking to you, within the armed forces, I once spoke here, I lost one of the most gallant Nigerian soldiers, my cousin, Colonel Baku, in the course of this. I lost my younger brother, same mother, in Bama. And today I will say without missing words, that even as we try to solve issues, the vigilantes and those who volunteered, just 2 weeks ago, I lost my nephew. So I know what it means, and I speak with pains.
What has happened in this country is an abject lack of courage. Every president since 1999 till today has demonstrated an embarrassing lack of courage to deal with an issue that has festered. We are appeasing terrorists. We are placating them. They are engaged in negotiation. You can't appease your way out of terrorism.
Security we face today is not just Boko Haram, but people within us. Mr. Speaker, the boogeyman insecurity has visited each and every one of us in this chamber. No one has been spared in the country, Mr. Speaker. The time for cosmetic approach is over. The time for political approach to insecurity in Nigeria cannot secure and stop the insecurity we face today.
The leadership should also interface with the executive to ensure that some of these resolutions, including past ones, are implemented. If they are implemented in a holistic way, in a structured way, and not the knee-jerk approach we are adopting to insecurity in this country.
We need a security situation where our security operatives will be communicado, where Nigerians can call any security operative at any hour of the day, and they are sure to get the right response.
My people, let's be honest. Nigeria's security crisis didn't start yesterday, right? It didn't begin with the latest wave of kidnappings. What we're seeing today is the final stage of problems that Nigeria has ignored. And that's the key word here, ignored, for years. A perfect storm created by broken institutions, economic hardship, and decades of unaddressed local grievances. Let's break down the real roots. Number one, a security architecture that's broken by design. You see, Nigeria runs one of the most centralized policing systems in the world. Every command comes from Abuja, even for local crimes in remote villages. So what does that mean in practice? Slow response times, weak coordination, no localized intelligence, communities left to defend themselves. A single federal police system cannot effectively police a nation of over 220 million people with diverse conflicts, terrains, and cultures. Number two, the chronic underinvestment in security. For years, Nigeria's police and military have been underfunded, under-equipped, and overstretched. You can't fight bandits with outdated weapons, poor training, low morale, and salaries that don't inspire loyalty. In some regions, communities trust vigilante groups more than the state because they simply respond faster. And that's a red flag for any country. Number three, the explosion of the kidnap economy. You see, kidnapping has become one of the most profitable businesses in Nigeria. Bandits have accountants, they have negotiators, they have logistics suppliers, informants. It is an entire industry, one that thrives because poverty is high. opportunities are low, and weapons are everywhere. So when crime becomes an economic alternative, the crisis becomes structural. Number 4, youth unemployment and millions of disillusioned young men. This is the uncomfortable truth. A nation cannot have tens of millions of unemployed, frustrated young men and women and expect peace. When schools fail, jobs are scarce, leaders feel distant, and hunger becomes daily reality, someone with a gun and a promise of money becomes persuasive. Insecurity grows where hope dies. And number 5, the long shadow of Boko Haram. Even as Boko Haram weakened, it left behind massive displacement, fractured communities, ungoverned spaces, and a surplus of weapons circulating across the north. These weapons now empower bandits, kidnappers, separatist groups, and criminal networks across multiple states. Number 6, climate change and the fight for land. Desertification has pushed herders southward, right into farmlands, and this has fueled deadly farmer-herder conflicts for over a decade. So what used to be manageable disputes have escalated into ethnic violence, revenge killings, and mass displacement. Climate stress is now a national security threat. And number 7, weak local governance. Many local governments are practically absent. There's no rural infrastructure, no local policing, no conflict resolution mechanisms, no oversight. And when the state disappears, something else always takes its place. Bandits, warlords, or vigilante justice. So the core reality, Nigeria's security crisis is not a terrorism problem. It's a governance problem that's rooted in weak institutions, unchecked corruption for years, limited economic opportunities, and a massive trust gap between citizens and the state. And that's why no single emergency decree can solve it overnight. Because you can recruit new officers, but you cannot fast-track trust. You can deploy more troops, but you cannot deploy legitimacy. This crisis is bigger than bullets.
And these people are there sending messages, sending clips on social media, making our country a laughingstock.
Disturbed that intelligence reports revealed the involvement of internal collaborators, often driven by economic and political desperation.
Those who are into this heinous crime do not love our country. They don't love our country. So they want to propel that intention of the United States.
We are being told that, you shouldn't talk about the past. You should focus on the present. Yet, on this floor, rather than focus on what we're supposed to talk about, we go back to say, during 2015, the Chibok girls happened, and we are now rescuing people. People were not rescued at that time. During Chibok, 17 local governments in Katsina were not having parleys with bandits.
We know who these bandits are. We know where they are. We know what they want. What is left for us to conclude? If we are going to do negotiation, do it and finish it. If we are going to fight, we'll fight it to the finish.
We as the Senate must identify and communicate to the people that elected us to be their voice. That part of the report that states that military personnel were withdrawn from that school in Kebbi. We must identify who gave the command and why.
Even as I speak now, we are still facing the attacks. This is orchestrated, this is organized, and this is meant to damage the image of democracy. And all these things started with just a tweet from President Trump. The penalty for kidnapping should be changed immediately to carry the maximum punishment of death.
So, my people, now that we've uncovered the roots, let's zoom out. Because this national emergency isn't just about bandits or kidnappers. It's about what kind of Nigeria emerges on the other side of this crisis. So let's break down the major implications politically, economically, socially, and internationally. Well, number one, politically, Tinubu's presidency is now on the line. This is the biggest domestic test of his leadership so far. Why? Because insecurity is personal. People will forgive slow economic growth, but they will not forgive feeling unsafe, right? So the key implications here, Tinubu must prove that he can restore control or his legitimacy weakens. The opposition will capitalize on any failures, amplifying public frustration. State-federal dynamics may shift dramatically if state police becomes real. Some states are ready and organized. Others risk creating ethnic or partisan militias. So this emergency will determine whether the federal government becomes stronger or whether power dissolves to the states in a way Nigeria hasn't seen since the First Republic. This is a political turning point. Number two, economically. Now the cost will be massive. Insecurity is already killing Nigeria's economy, and this emergency highlights just how deep the wound is. Let's be clear. When farmers can't go to their farms, food prices rise. When transport routes are unsafe, inflation spikes. When companies fear kidnapping risks, investors pull out. When the military is everywhere, business confidence drops. When rural areas empty out, poverty becomes entrenched. The emergency may stabilize some regions, but the economic scars will take years to heal. Nigeria's economy cannot rise while its people live in fear. And then socially, Nigerians are losing trust in the state. This is perhaps the most dangerous consequence of all. For years, people in many communities felt like they were on their own. Right now, with mass kidnappings, violent raids, and bandits taking over rural spaces, that distrust is widening. The implications? Well, more Nigerians may turn to vigilante groups, which are powerful but unregulated. Communities may start to self-police, creating parallel structures of authority. Trauma is becoming generational, especially among children in affected areas. The fear of attending school, especially for girls, may reverse years of educational progress. When trust erodes, so does national unity. And then fourth, internationally, Nigeria's image and influence are at stake. Because Nigeria is not just any country, right? It is Africa's giant, economically, culturally, diplomatically. But this emergency sends a dangerous signal. If Nigeria cannot protect its citizens, can it lead the region? ECOWAS' influence is weakened when one of its pillars is battling such internal chaos. Global investors and partners will hesitate. The diaspora, millions strong, is watching with fear and frustration. And now, with President Trump threatening to deploy U.S. troops unless Nigeria gets control, the crisis has crossed borders. So this is no longer a Nigerian story. It's an international one. So the big picture, this emergency isn't just a policy shift. It's a national inflection point. The moment Nigeria decides what kind of state it will be. A strong reform nation capable of securing itself, or a weakened federation battling crises on every front. Because when insecurity becomes systemic, it changes everything: politics, economics, identity, and even the idea of the nation itself. So now that we understand the crisis, the response, and the stakes, the real question is this: will this security emergency actually work? Well, let's break it down, and not with wishful thinking, but with clear eyes. What does the best case scenario look like? Well, that would be a complete turning point, right? In the best possible outcome, the new recruits are trained quickly and deployed effectively. Coordinated operations weaken bandit networks and disrupt forest camps. Missing school children and abducted civilians are rescued and returned to families. Federal and state security agencies finally begin sharing intelligence. State police reforms move forward responsibly, not politically. And communities start to feel protected and public trust begins to recover. Of course, economic activity starts to pick up in stabilized regions. This would mark the first time in years that Nigeria moves from reaction to prevention. It won't fix everything overnight, but it could stabilize the nation enough to begin real structural reforms. Now let's look at the worst case scenario, right? Which would be more troops, but the same problems or even worse. You have new recruits who join a broken system without training or accountability. You have increased deployments that lead to human rights abuses, further fueling resentment. Bandits scattered into new states, expanding the crisis instead of shrinking it. State police that becomes politicized and weaponized by governance. Kidnap gangs that adapt faster than the government can respond. And communities that lose even more faith in the state, turning fully to vigilantes. This outcome would not only fail to solve the crisis, it would deepen it. Because force without reform is just noise. Now, the most likely reality? Well, it's probably somewhere in between, a partial fix if deeper change happens. This emergency will likely improve short-term security in high-risk zones, increase visibility of security forces, disrupt some criminal networks, and slow down the rate of mass kidnappings. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Boots on the ground alone cannot fix a system that is structurally weak. Nigeria needs structural reform that go far beyond force. Rebuilding local governance, tackling corruption at every level, investing in rural communities, solving youth unemployment, creating real economic pathways, addressing farmer-herder tensions, and restoring legitimacy between government and citizens. Without these changes, this emergency just becomes a bandage on a deep wound. Now, before we wrap up, though, I want to talk about a big elephant in the room. Where is Africa in all of this? Where is ECOWAS? Where is the African Union? Where are Nigeria's regional allies? Because here's the truth, and this is based on the latest reporting. While President Tinubu has broadly urged international cooperation in fighting terrorism, there has been no public formal request for coordinated help from the African Union, ECOWAS, or Nigeria's neighboring states. No AU standby force activation, no ECOWAS joint security mandate, no official call for regional intelligence sharing. Nothing that matches the scale of what Nigeria is facing right now. And that's a problem because the groups terrorizing northern and central Nigeria are not operating within borders. They move between Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and Benin with ease. So you cannot fight a cross-border crisis with a single country strategy, right? Yes, Tinubu has asked for global cooperation, which in itself is very vague. But global cooperation is not the same as regional action. And the African institutions designed for exactly this kind of crisis aren't being activated. It raises serious questions. Is it political pride, a fear of appearing weak, concerns about sovereignty, a belief that Nigeria must handle this on its own? Or perhaps a deeper frustration that these regional institutions simply don't deliver when it matters most. Because here's the truth. Even the strongest nations ask for help when the crisis is bigger than their borders. Let's be real, there are practical ways that Africa and international allies could help today without taking over Nigeria's fight. Number one, ECOWAS and the Lake Chad Basin. Joint intelligence sharing. Bandits and insurgents, they share routes, weapons, informants. The region needs a shared intelligence network and immediately. Number 2, AU rapid response support. The African Union has a standby force on paper, so Nigeria could use it for logistics, stabilization, and specialized units. Number 3, drone and surveillance support. Key partners like Turkey, the US, South Africa, and Rwanda could provide drones, satellite imagery, thermal tracking. No boots on the ground needed. Just technology to help fight the fight. Number 4, specialized hostage rescue training. Nigeria needs bigger, better trained rapid response units. International partners can train them inside Nigeria under Nigerian command. So the question isn't just where is Africa? The deeper question is, why hasn't Nigeria activated Africa and its allies? Why hasn't Nigeria mobilized institutions designed for crises like this? Or maybe they are doing behind closed doors. We don't know. But right now, as of public data, there's no information that suggests so. The truth is that when Africa's giant struggles, the entire continent feels the tremor. And when the continent stays silent, it leaves Nigeria to fight a regional monster alone. So, my people, where do we go from here? Nigeria is indeed standing at a crossroads. A nationwide security emergency, a wave of kidnappings and violence that has shaken families to their core. A government that's scrambling to regain control. A president calling for the first time on every Nigerian to join this fight. In a continent that's watching from the sidelines. So the real question isn't just whether the emergency will work. It's deeper than that. Can Nigeria fix the system that led it here? Can leaders rebuild the trust that insecurity has destroyed? Can a nation this powerful pull itself back from the edge, not with panic, but with purpose? Because here's the truth. No country wins a fight like this alone. Not Nigeria, not any nation. It takes leadership. It takes community. It takes coordination. It takes humility. And yes, it takes every citizen also willing to play their part, however small. So now I turn the question over to you. Do you believe this emergency is the turning point Nigeria needs? Or is the country treating symptoms while the real disease continues to spread? And as Tinubu calls on all Nigerians to join this fight, what role do you believe everyday people can and should play in securing their nation? Let me know in the comments and let's talk about it. That's it for today's show. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed it or learned something from this episode, don't forget to like, drop a comment to let me know your thoughts, and share our channel with someone who needs to be a part of this conversation. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng. Until next time, take care.